enough times, hoping that no one would be offended by this, and I've done a lot of research. So, my white question is, why does the color of my skin matter more than my intelligence? And it turned into the how question of, how do we approach people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds? And I'll be throwing one word around a lot, but I don't want people to get offended by it, so I'm going to say the definition of it. Ignorant, lacking knowledge, information, or awareness about something in particular. And to let everyone know right now, we've all been victims of ignorance one way or another, and we've all displayed our own ignorance, whether we wanted to or not, and it was probably by accident. I interviewed 3 teachers, and I asked them when they were victims of ignorance and whether or not they've also displayed their own ignorance. And I have a quote from Mr. Floyd, Ms. Harvey, and Ms. Kalinda, if you guys just want to spend like 10 seconds reading that, because it's a lot. Or 15. Okay, next slide. Sorry, just, time everyone wants to get out. So the title of my project is Ignorance is Not Bliss, contrary to popular belief where people believe that if the less that they know, the happier they'll be, and that's not true. Next slide. So my personal story starts off with me staying up late at night trying to watch Supernatural, but there you go. Alright. But there was a presidential election going on and history was being made when Obama won presidency. And so suddenly I'm like, wait, why is the entire news covered by the fact that everyone's surprised that we have our first black president and he's breaking history? Don't get me wrong, I'm very proud of that and that's amazing, but no one acknowledged the fact that he had the plans to bring affordable health care. He wanted to bring troops out of Iraq, and he's done plenty of other great things. But the one thing that people couldn't wrap their minds around was that we had our first black president. And what angers me is, and why is this history, is because I wonder why it took 3 centuries for America to finally realize that there is no association between skin color and intelligence. Next slide. So for my presentation, I interviewed both my 87-year-old grandmother and a man named Sonny Williams. My 87-year-old grandmother actually went through a lot of racial events. She's been there through segregation and a lot of movements as well. And when I asked her what she thought about when it came to stereotypes and stuff, and how it presented itself today, she said that as we progress more into society and people are becoming more diverse and more open-minded, she said that they won't have a role in our society, rather than people will be focusing more on the way that they present themselves and the amount of education and how they use both to become successful. And when I talked to a man named Sonny Williams, he was... Sorry, just tell me that I was presenting in front of a bunch of people. A man named Sonny Williams, he was a lawyer, and he ended up quitting his job and wanting to start a whole new company in hopes to help children understand the medical procedures that they're going through and putting them in several different languages for underprivileged people that also did not speak English. And when I asked him how to deal with racial profiling for him being a black man, he said that it's going to happen regardless. You can't stop it, and you can't really you can't stop it. And he said that the way you have to approach it is you have to be calm, you have to be collected, and you have to be cool. You have to let it pass, and you have to be mature. If it's someone in power, that's just, you kind of got to deal with it. If it's not someone in power and someone on the same playing field as you, you sit them down and you recognize their ignorance and you have them realize that, hey, I understand that you possibly came from a background where you don't know a lot about a certain minority group, but that doesn't mean that you should be thinking this way. And you prove to them that, hey, there's a lot of different ways that different minority groups can be raised. And so that's not to say that we haven't progressed as a society. This is data from the AP Calculus AB exam and the amount of students that took it in 2013. And this is the racial breakdown. A lot of people would focus on the fact that 60% of those students are white people, but no one will really acknowledge the fact that 40% of them are built around different minorities. And if you actually have a graph that shows the amount of minorities participating in AP Calculus from the year that it was made all the way to now, I can guarantee that there's going to be a significant increase. Next slide. I also took data from the African Americans who took the AP exam, and from 2003 to 2013, the amount of students that were able to have a 3 or higher, which counts as passing and giving you college credit, doubled in the amount of 10 years. And next slide. For the Hispanic and Latinos, it quadrupled in a matter of 10 years. Next slide. So, even though it seems like we're progressing as a society, we still have to acknowledge the fact that there's plenty of racism in society today, and especially in the media, which basically shapes our own mindsets. There's a slide, there's a video here, but apparently the video's not working and I don't want to go through that right now. So basically what it has is, it's from BuzzFeed, and it has a man interviewing other people, and he describes the consequences of a riot. And they're supposed to guess whether or not it was a political protest, foreign policy, police brutality, or a sports event, or some sort of frat party. And when he describes these events right here that happened in 1984 in Detroit, Michigan, 80 people were injured, 1 was dead, millions of dollars in property damage, and 8 reported rapes. A lot of people expected it to be something really significant, when in reality, it was just when the Detroit Tigers beat the Padres in the World Series, and they were celebrating. And nothing really, there is no justification for actions like that, and then there was another example for Vancouver when they lost for the Stanley Cup. And when I researched headlines for that, all I got was someone trying to cover a picture of a couple being taken kissing in the middle of a riot. But when I Googled actual political protests, when it came to trying to change the injustice in our criminal system, our criminal justice system, they had words like out of control, animalistic, and thuggish, and it shows that in media, when they're covering different protests, especially one like the Vancouver, that was predominantly white people rioting, they use calm words and they don't really cover the amount of damage that's been happening. But when you have people that are fighting for police brutality and fighting against the injustices in the world, they try to paint a really negative picture of it, and that's not right. Next slide. Another example is subtle racism today. I know you guys are hearing the word microaggression a lot, but bear with me. But before that, so there was a man named Jose Zamora. He was putting out hundreds of applications, and he would always get rejected. And one day he decides, hey, you know what? Let me take the S out. Let me become Joe Zamora. He does not change anything else about his resume, and he has the same qualifications as the ones before. And when he submits that, the same day he gets replies of job offers from the same jobs that rejected him under the alias of Jose Zamora. Now, you can't tell me that there is no sort of racism behind that. In an online application where people expect to be colorblind and just to look at the qualifications of a person, instead they're still being judged because their name either sounds white or it sounds Hispanic, and they're going to choose the one person who sounds white. Also, going into microaggressions, sorry, I'm trying to zoom through. Going with microaggressions, you're going to hear, for all of you going through college and going to college and entering the real world, you're going to hear comments, especially to Hispanics, oh, you don't have an accent, that's surprising. Or when you're African American going to a really prestigious school, you're going to hear, oh, are you here on a sports scholarship? That goes and it indicates that, hey, you're not smart. People think you're not smart enough to be going to Ivy Leagues or really prestigious schools just because you're a minority, and that's not true. And then you have the other one where it's like, no, where are you really from? But that's super offensive too, but I don't want to overshadow that. But my solution, next slide, is just the fact that, sorry, the solution is that you create an empathetic link with people. You connect to them as a person, just exactly how Jordan Meade put it. It was a beautiful presentation. You acknowledge the connections you have with a person, and then afterwards, after you get comfortable, you acknowledge the fact that you guys possibly will be ignorant towards each other because you guys don't know the experiences that they will go through. A Hispanic man will never know the experiences that a black man goes through, and the same thing goes with the other, and plenty of other races as well. And I want to leave you guys with 2 things. One, the color of your skin doesn't define you. The color and race of, your race plays as much as a role as you want it to be. And the second thing, to tie it all up at the end, is that the color of intelligence is not white. It's undefined. Thank you.